can go to their separate like corners and kind of talk about that, because I think that there's a lot of stuff for women. There's not enough stuff for like young men, and I think it's really important, because if you're going to build a strong community, you need both. You can't just have successful, highly driven women and then men who are scared to even talk to them. We need that for the benefit of, I think, humanity.
I can completely agree, because when we were in South Africa, my son was going to a only boys school, and now when I see the transformation at work where it's like more women empowerment, you know, um, fairly so, because like the corporate was saturated with like males at the top, right? But now we are leaving the new generation behind. So now it really scared me. It was scaring me actually, because he would come back home and say, no, it's not for boys, it's for, and I'm just like, we are moving from, like that whole setup or thinking or mindset. So now, is it like advisable for me to keep him in the school, or I have to look at it from like, like where he goes to a cohort? Or for me it was like worrisome, because of that you see the transformation at work where women are filling spaces, and now back home we don't talk about men.
I think it's actually very dangerous. You see, there was this Netflix movie that was pretty much trying to highlight, I think it was called Adolescence, and it was trying to highlight the impact of young boys. It's a tragic story because the boy ends up killing like a young girl, and you see, there's a lot of like incidences, at least in the UK, that have been reported where the young men are attacking young women. And I think it's a lot of things. One, a lot of kids are playing online on the computer. They're not physically interacting with a stranger. They don't know how to take rejection well. They're being taught how to understand the complexities of humanity through maybe sometimes someone who has like a brain cell of a tadpole, instead of maybe learning it from their community that understands that people are going to say no. Like, I don't know if you recall this, but back in the day I felt like guys would always be like, you need to throw like 1,000,000 shots to get one yes. Guys are no longer throwing any shots. They don't want to get a single no. Like, and I think that's bad actually, because not only that, I think society in general, the younger generations are finding it more difficult to be resilient in rejection and resilience in the difficulty. Like, life sucks, guys. Life is actually not supposed to be a walk in the park every day. To live is to suffer, and if you don't get that premise about that, I think you end up not taking many risks. You see communities not having maybe as many entrepreneurs. You see people who are, in my opinion, going into modern day slavery because they just feel like that's a safe way to go. Or you're just dancing on TikTok because you think that's the only way you can.
That is true. When you post something that is meaningful, nobody is interested to listen.
Exactly.
They would rather go for dancing videos where nothing is really serious. It doesn't like empower you. And when you talk about like the like no failure culture, I'm experiencing that currently, where a lot of people are so resistant to initiate anything because they're scared of failing, because they grew up through that system where failure is not acceptable. You need to get like 100%. And I also see it with my son as well. Oh my gosh, like when we talk about digital spaces, I see a lot with my son, because for example now he's in South Africa with his grandparents, and then he would stay on his tablet the whole day. But here we like regulated it where during the week they know there's no digitals. So it's reading, it's learning like through engagement. And then he does a lot of activities also outside, like where he plays tennis, where he's engaging with people. But when he fails, he's very much self-aware that if he goes, like for example at school, they encourage them to talk in front of people, and he sort of like gives himself feedback that I don't think I did so well, and he feels bad. And I'm just like, what's happening in the world? What's happening? So I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, because when we were growing up, we were kids.
Yeah, you want that.
Was like,
what is that?
Yes, because also his school encourages like confidence, like when they really evaluate them, like for their growth, academics. Confidence is like one factor that they really look at. But anyway, No, no, welcome. Oh my gosh.
I thought we were like that was it. Thank you for having
I'm
me.
enjoying those conversations so much. And today's interview will be different. We are going to have like a dialogue, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think there's quite a lot that we can engage on. I think we are in more or less similar spaces. So I think there's a lot of benefits in us just having, a dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Happy to
welcome.
be here. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, maybe just give us a short introduction so that yeah, yeah, that's where we start basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, but for people at home who don't know, my name is Nono Buketi. I am the CEO of Data Sentinels and the Chief Ambassador of Transformation Leader. We are a gamified online learning platform that deals with people who want to learn to implement digital transformation. Data Sentinels, we deal with implementing AI tools, also digital transformation adoption across multiple industries, retail, construction, manufacturing, you name it. I've been in this industry for over 15 years. It's been a long haul. I started my career in the UK, and I've basically been able to travel the world doing what I do now, meeting a lot of different types of people, learning a lot about my craft, because I consider implementing digital transformation as a craft, as something that is multidisciplinary. It's not just about technology, it's about psychology, sociology, everything under the sun,
So
to
true.
basically to implement something that great. And I am honored to be here with you.
Yeah. And what did you study?
So I did an undergrad in international business in Japanese, and my master's was in, I was going to say digital transformation. My master's is in analytics, operational research, and risk analysis.
I'm like looking at her, just like as she mentioning like qualifications, what she does, and I'm just like, what? There's quite a lot I don't know about you. One thing I know, you are well traveled because most of the time we talk, it's either you are in Africa, in like another country in Africa, USA. Where are you based?
Right now I'm in Austin, Texas. Shout out
Okay.
to Austin. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have always had this strong desire to live
Mm-hmm.
internationally. That's why I studied international business in Japanese.
Mm.
I actually thought I was going to live in Japan. I went to Japan and I
Yeah.
did try and live there, and I was like, I don't think this is really my vibe.
But I kind of get why like you're so futuristic because studying in Japan is very futuristic,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
one country where my husband and I are like packing it just to go with our kids so that they
You
also
love
get to
it.
like really see
Mm.
the future basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, so yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely love traveling, but most
Mm-hmm.
importantly, I think if I wasn't doing what I was doing now, I'd probably be being like a cultural anthropologist. But what young kid who likes
Mm-hmm.
humans doesn't want to be that? I just find people like so interesting. I find the similarities between cultures more
Mm-hmm.
interesting than the dissimilarities. And I think that as a human species, we actually have a lot more in common than we might even be aware of or want. Because I think like the media talks a lot about our differences, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually think there a very few differences. We want family, protection, love, like all that stuff. And people
Mm-hmm.
pretty much across the world want those things.
That is so true. Now that I'm working in China, I usually look at like the similarities, and you look at so much similarities with like the African countries'
Mm-hmm,
culture, and
mm-hmm,
it's just like, what? You guys are like us. Like
mm-hmm,
it's so amazing, and I'm glad that you also mentioned that because also like really looking at the commonality, it makes us not really be scared of trying things because now you see that, but we are the same in this area, so I can also do it. But
mm-hmm.
now if you highlight like the differences, it's just like then you see like more of the negative that you can't do.
No, that's true. Like I'm
Yeah.
also a stern believer that if a human being can do it, I don't care where you're from, what gender
Mm.
you are. If you're a human and you
Mm.
can do it, I can do
That's true. I literally got an awakening where, growing up, I was told that I was not good enough and I never really believed in myself. But when I got my aha moment, it was like, wait, I can do it, And the truth is, we can really, anyone has got a huge potential to go far. But the problem is, we are living in a society where everyone is told that you can't, you're not good enough, you know this. And now we really like live with those fears. And I was actually taking a video, I think was it yesterday, talking about where like the culture of feedback, that a lot of people are scared of receiving feedback because of then we're not taught the culture of feedback. Growing up, if we give feedback to our parents, they would shout at you. They would say you are a brat, you're not grateful, this. They would call you all names when you're giving feedback. Maybe if they give you food that you don't like and they feel like, no, you can't be saying that. So they never opened that dialogue, and now it instilled that fear of not receiving feedback, because we always look at it from that it's coming from a negative perspective, not instead of like having it as constructive feedback. Yeah.
I want you to tell me a little bit more about that aha moment, and the reason I'm curious as to like what triggered that self-realization to go, actually, I'm the crap. I'm actually really damn cool.
Oh my
gosh. Google me.
Oh my gosh. So okay, firstly, my husband, right? He used to push me a lot. I was scared of speaking in front of people, and I felt like I don't have the voice. I felt like my English is not good enough. And he would say, we were doing internship in the same department, and he would say, no, talk, speak up. Like, you've got great ideas, you are smart, speak up. And I never really realized it when it was like, happening. But I think after turning 30, I started realizing my values. I went to do work for two different companies where my values were not really valued, and I allowed it to happen. I allowed to be bullied. But I remember when they wanted me back in one of the companies when I had resigned, and I put in like the offer, like what I want, like a proposal, instead of taking what they are giving me. Because from the company where I was working for, when they wanted it, I don't know if it's making sense. When they wanted me, they gave me like a lot of benefits, they gave me a lot of things, and that's when I also realized my worth. Then when I was going back, then I put in like what I want. So that's sort of like sparked like knowing my worth. But in terms of me getting that aha moments that I'm enough, it started from a place where I had to start over, from being a process engineer, project engineer, to a graduate trainee. And then when I was then, putting in my opinions, putting in initiatives, like a lot of people were listening to me. And then I realized that, wait, hold on, I'm just a student here, although I've got like prior experience, and the guys that are qualified, they're like listening to me. So that's when I realized that actually I do have a potential to go far. That's when, like, when everyone is coming to me, then I started using that, that strength, that okay, we can resolve this, we can resolve that. And that was really like an awakening for me, that yeah, you don't need titles, you don't need to be a manager, you don't need like to be at like a very high position in order for you to be influential. It's just a matter of you know um, living, what sort of like putting it into practice, what you want to become. Yeah. And having mentorship, I won't even forget about my mentors. You guys have helped me so much to harness my potential, to create like a career roadmap. And after I visualized what I wanted, then I started going for what I wanted. So yeah, I think yeah.
That's actually really beautiful. I
Yeah.
think also what I like about that story is every time you tried or gave yourself a challenge and you conquered that challenge, it sounds like you got more confidence.
Yes, it was like,
Yeah.
wow, I can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And then like you speak to people or you speak in meetings, like, what, I can do that. And now it became a norm that, no man, come on, you've got like you've got the potential.
Yeah.
And then I now started believing in more of, you don't have to become qualified to be in like specific spaces. You just need to have the potential to be there. If you see potential, then be there, and then you live it, practice, because we practice what we want to become. Yeah.
I also like agree with your comment about influence not having titles. I'm a big believer of that. I literally, that's why transformation leaders living an idea, is because I think that a lot of people don't understand how much power they have in a day-to-day basis, because they're not like you harnessing that power. And I think that you're actually doing a disservice. I actually think that if you're not harnessing your power, you're a selfish little brat.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
We need it. Get
Yeah,
it. What's happening?
and sometimes, you know, our surroundings like suppress us seeing the potential that we have. So really, when I started taking mentorship seriously, I started evaluating my surroundings and see that, wait, here I was like people pleasing. Wait, here I'm not accepted. And I would tell stories about my friends, how they treated me, but yet I would still go back and people were like, girl, this is obvious this person doesn't like you. I was like, but I like them. Like, it's not about you liking them. It has to be a two-way thing. You know, I literally stayed in so many friendships that did not serve me. And once I let go and really choose very wisely where I could flourish, you know, where we could have like we could help each other grow as friends, then yeah, things became better. And that's my advice, guys. If you are in spaces where like there is no growth, you're not inspired to do anything, you're not inspired to harness your potential, then you are in the wrong spaces, because people just stay and you feel like partying, doing this, doing that, like really what's serving you. No, after 30, after 25 actually, your relationship with people must be different.
You're like, as soon as you're born,
yes,
no friends.
yes, yeah. But today I would like to also talk more on, you know, like digital transformation, because that's also like your area. And before we started, we were talking more on, you know, how Africa is so behind. And for me, I only realized it when I came to China, looking at the education system, and I was quite worried. Like, what does digital transformation mean to you?
I feel like I'm gonna cry, like, because your story really touched me, and only because I think about how many children out there actually being left behind every day. I'm not trying to rock the boat when I make this statement, but I do think that governments are intentionally keeping our people behind. And the reason I say it's intentional is because if you read policies that are put in place, or policies that are tabled in parliaments across the continent, even the AU has policies around education and like, you know, in introducing AI or robotics or whatever the case may be into curriculums, and then seeing the implementation of that, and the fact that that's not actually happening in a grand scale, to me feels very intentional. Because it's like, if you know the urgency, digital transformation is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. You're looking at the West, which would primarily be like the USA with OpenAI, and then they're getting OpenAI right now is worth $300 billion. That's just one, you know what I mean? So why is there no open AI for South Africa, for example, or for Nigeria or Kenya, whatever the case may be? Like, what are we doing that's enabling that sort of stuff for us? And then if you look on the East with China, because right now there is a war right now between the East and the West.
It's so crazy.
Where is Africa?
Exactly. Okay, I never looked at it that way. You know why? Because we have adapted the Western mentality, and I always look at us as like, wait, I'm sorry, I am so sorry for my ignorance, but wait, yes, where's Africa?
It's very important. So, like, for example, I'm just going to quickly break down how AI models are trained. They're based on copious amount of data. Most of those models are Western models. So what that means is any bias in your data that's inherent, because the data is what we produce, right? So if I, in my society, believe that only men are CEOs, if I chunk a question into AI and be like, create an image of a CEO, default it will give me maybe a white man with blue eyes. Whereas if it was trained on like African data, maybe it would give me a black man. You know, maybe it wouldn't even give me a woman, but maybe it'll give me a black man. So it's really important for us to actually have our own AI models that are African based, that understand the nuances of the multiple different cultures that are on the continent. Because as you're interacting with that and feeding it and training it, it's also molding some of, because you know a lot of young people now truly, like millennials and Gen Zs, rely on AI more than any other generation. Some people are actually leveraging AI for therapy, for their boyfriend or girlfriend.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
And
the foregoing that, I saw a stat where it's like, I think it was like 80% of Gen Zs would be open to have like an AI relationship over a real one. That is not okay.
No, that's scary.
We need you guys to procreate so we can advance the human.
And now that you're talking about Western and East, funny enough, a lot of inventors are coming from Africa, but they are inventing for West. Even like there are a lot of hubs for digital in Africa, but for West or East. And really looking at like AI, we've got OpenAI, we've got DeepSeek, DeepSeek East, OpenAI West. So where are we? But I mean, you know, I sometimes like I'm very skeptical into having these discussions because I don't really like to like talk without not having a solution to things. So it's like really highlighting a lot of issues and then what are the solutions? Because like we all see all these issues, but I think I love your platform, you know, where you're really trying to improve like the digital transformation. So I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And yeah, you inspire me. Can you be my mentor?
Look at her just
Can
popping
she
that.
be my mentor? I'm like asking this here so that
there's no way for me to run away from me.
Yes.
Stay till the end of this episode and let's find out what I say. So one thing I really want to talk about that is there's this book that we did in the T4L book club by Mark Salima. Oh gosh, Mark, I hope I said your last name correctly. He's a Kenyan expert on AI. He's written a book. It's a well renowned around like Africa AI basically. And one of the things that he talked about in the book was AI sovereignty, which I loved because he kind of poses this concept of, if we don't have our own databases, our own AI models, our own, you know, access to information and technologies, we could be in the future letting go of our sovereignty. Because let's say the US doesn't like what Botswana does, and we have all our data floating in AWS, which is Amazon's stuff, and they could simply just go, well, we're going to shut down your databases. Now, what are you going to do?
And I mean, we've seen that with TikTok.
Yeah.
Like being shut down in America.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
What are you going to do?
Oh
so it's
gosh.
really, so when I say that it's quite important for us to think about solutions around there, and why I still think that the governments are intentionally doing this. Like, and like I said, I'm not trying to rock the boat. It's just, how is this still a conversation we're having?
It's the reality.
Yeah, you know.
I see that with my son. We moved from South Africa coming to China, and they enrolled into you know, the schools here. My son was a year behind of, you know, the curriculum or the syllabus, where we had to start from scratch. He didn't know how to read, he didn't know how to write. But in South Africa, he was going to good schools, like schools that are rated, I mean, good, like in the area. And I was quite comfortable enough that my son is in a good school, and you know, the conversation that we have is just like, mommy, I love it here, but the school is too much. He's like, you know, and he's like, when I was in South Africa at school, we were only coloring, we were drawing. But here I'm doing math, I'm writing essays, I'm doing computer, I'm doing, you know, he's got so many things that he lists, and I'm just like, oh my child, I get what you mean. But unfortunately, it's good for you. You see the benefits in the future. I literally have a proper conversation with my son, because he's like very much aware also of what's happening. But that was really, you know, it really made me feel bad about our country, that what do we deem as good education. But at the same time, it's like there's like this huge potential where a lot of people, they've got the skills, they are going to work in other countries and stuff. But what are we doing for our country? Yeah.
And I do think that it is challenging. Like, so for example, I understand in South Africa, it's probably a more decentralized education system based on the provinces, whereas in China, it's highly centralized. So whatever the main hub says, it just gets, disseminated quickly. I also understand that in South Africa, the literacy, basic education literacy, is far below what you'd want compared to maybe Asia. So maybe a government will go, well, how are we talking about AI when we can't even read and write and do 1+1? And so, and depending on how much money your province has, maybe, there's some schools that don't have access to internet, and you kind of need internet to kind of use some of these technologies. There are some nonprofit groups out there that are trying to provide access to people in more vulnerable locations so that they aren't left behind. But the fact is that it's not that great,
And the truth is, we've got a lot of potential to become, what other countries are doing. It's just practice. But because we don't have those resources from an earlier stage, and right now, I don't think you even need like huge, big investments. Like, it's really, everyone has got a phone, everyone has got like an access to a lot of things, but we're not using them correctly. And I lived that, like, in my primary, everything was taught in Chivenda. And I thought, well, that's great. But it affects you when you leave the province to go to other places where nobody's speaking Chivenda. And if you want to grow in your career, you're not going to use that. So now it really affected me, because now it affected my confidence, because I had to learn English from after matric. This, like, I had from primary to high school, where everything was literally being translated into Chivenda, and all modules are taken in English except for Chivenda as a first additional language. But, or not even but, because I hate using but. So, however, with the with all other modules that are given in English, they were translated into Chivenda. So now your brains just process everything in Chivenda. So even when I'm like standing in like different stages, everything is being processed in Chivenda. And now, with an imposter syndrome, with like fear of failure, I just feel like, oh, I can't be here. Oh, I don't deserve to be here. Oh, what if I mess up because, I'm thinking in Chivenda, But yeah, with practice, going to trainings for presentations, I remember like the trainer telling me that it's not a problem to think in your language, because also it helps you to become more creative in a way. But I'm not sure if that's entirely correct. However, it's like put me in now a better place that, well, I'm processing in my home language, so what? But what's coming out then, it's fine, yeah. So it's really more of the potential that we can harness that potential, to get what we want, but we're not using it from the foundation. So, Minister of Education, please, let's have a dialogue with Nono and me, and we'll review the syllabus, because one of the things that I was not happy about. A lot of my colleagues at work, I work for an automotive industry, so I'm a project engineer, and a lot of people that I was asking were also talking about like, what did you study? They would say, I studied vehicle engineering. Do we have that in South Africa? I've never heard of that, but we've got so many car manufacturing, plants in South Africa, but it's not. We don't have our own, because we don't have the foundation of how the car is manufactured. And that was really for me like a trigger. Also, it's very triggering that what is our education do, what is our government doing, to get us to the level where we are getting all this foundational knowledge. And like, I was also in the department for measuring. All my counterparts in Germany, when you ask them, what did you study, they would say measuring. I'm like, what? What is measuring? So everything has got like that foundation where you are taught, the foundation about what you applying at work. And now everything, the way we look at the world, because you've got like engineering, mechanical, industrial, electrical, and like just a few engineering
fields.
It feels like, well, when you get to work, you must open up your mind and just take what you get. But the reality is we are not getting to, like, we're not being taught to get to a level where, we, what we're learning, we are able to apply it directly in the workspaces, because then it's not aligned.
No, I
So
1000% believe that our education system is producing digital slavery to the African people.
what does that mean?
It means that the education system is not equipping you to be able to act in a digital economy, which is where we are. You'll find that a lot of people go to school to regurgitate what they've learned, not to think critically, which is extremely important, even with AI,
Yeah.
right? You still need to be creative. You still need to be able to problem solve. You still need to have critical thinking. Whereas I think that someone can go to school, get a really good degree, and come out and just be able to parrot things and not think for themselves and question things and have that innate curiosity and that hunger to discover. And it doesn't matter if they studied engineering or whatever. I see it across multiple disciplines, and that to me is a concern, because if you're teaching people to just kind of like, okay, when I come out of school, I'm going to get whatever job. And when I'm at this job, I'm just going to sit there. I'm not going to like think about anything or dream about anything. And I'm not here to say that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. I will not ever say that. I think that the roles in society for people who are entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs. So people who should work for people, because you need both,
You need
right?
both, yeah.
So, but I am concerned that I feel like because you're not equipping the next generation with those sort of skills, including the digital skills that I talk about, you're just going to put us in digital slavery, because we're either going to be working for the East or working for the West because we don't have enough. And I understand there's a lot of differences. So if you think of the United States, I think the population is like 370 million. You look at China, they're at 1 billion. You look at, I can't say Africa because that's a continent. There are 54 countries there, multiple different currencies, multiple different languages. If you even look at the Africa Trade Union, one of the biggest, I think, calls is how do we allow for one currency, or how do we allow for people to send money just to the next country without it going to like France and then coming back, because it costs the African continent billions of dollars per year to just send money next door, because it has to go out of the country to the UK, then needs to come back to whatever. It costs a lot of money. So like little things like that are also hurting us, right? But it's not the same. So maybe if Africa was a country and we all maybe had one language and one currency, maybe. I'm not saying that's the solution. I'm saying that maybe that would help, because you'd now be looking at a continent that has maybe 1 billion people, and now you're like running it like China. And I don't think that the answer is to copy the East or the West. I think the answer is to be creative and find what makes sense for the continent, for your people. I get so frustrated when I look at like policy, especially like, AI policies or data privacy policies, and it literally looks like a copy and paste of the EU. We're not the EU. Like, one thing I need to shout out to the African Union is that they do have a data privacy policy, which I think is the first. I don't know if there are any after that allows for data to travel across the continent. Like it's
Okay.
so that's very innovative in terms of, it's like it looked at the continent and said what makes sense for our continent. But that's not always the case. And then also the African Union can create a policy, or SADC, because we're in Southern Africa, and SADC can create a policy. Who's implementing it? Nobody. Because a lot of people go, well, you need a policy. Okay, they created the policy. Now you need to implement it. Africans are very good at talking.
Yeah, I get so frustrated.
A-star, love it.
I get so frustrated when we put measures in place where we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but nothing gets implemented. And I feel like we are very good at like thinking of ideas, and then we don't put them into place. If we put them into place, we don't maintain. So it's like really, yeah. But when you talk about AI, like that, now looking at the universities and stuff, I just thought of a question that came up when I was on Link FM talking about AI, that whatever job that you're doing currently, if it's repetitive, it will be replaced by AI. So you need to be thinking of positioning yourself in a position where you are the one bringing those ideas that how about we automate this job, because at the end of the day it's going to be automated. So now if you're the one who comes with that initiative, then you are in a better place because already you're thinking about the future. And this girl spoke about, like, there was a question on radio that but our universities are declining our theses because they're saying that this is AI. And my question was, what was going through my mind was also like, what are universities doing? Like, how are they teaching you to, like, what does plagiarism look like in the AI era? Like, are we talking about that? I would really like to understand also, because now we're in a space where AI gets you, like, generates everything quickly. But now, do we stop using it because then we spoke picking up plagiarism, not being creative or whatsoever, or we're looking at creativity from the AI perspective? And when you talk about creativity from the AI perspective, I feel like universities are not doing enough, because if you're getting that question from a student, that means that there isn't much awareness about AI. And that's why they also, like, like when people were studying like from virtually, they changed from virtually to you must come back to campus because everyone is using AI, because everyone is using, you can't avoid what's happening with AI. The question is, how are we preparing ourselves to the now, not even the future. It's like the now.
Yeah, 1000%. I think that the solution around that is, what are you now measuring? Because I do think it's a disservice if you don't allow students to use AI because they're in school, like where they're going to learn if they're not learning it at home.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I also agree with the comment that you made about, like, repetitive jobs being replaced. If you look at the World Economic Futures Report, please, guys, if that's the only thing you learn from this conversation, go to that report. It gets published every year, and it talks about trends in terms of the job market, which ones are going down, which ones are going up. And it also shows, yes, we're going to lose a lot of jobs from AI, but we're also going to be creating new different ones. So that might be an opportunity for you to actually go, let me study this further. And when I say study, I don't mean, let me now go get a 4-year degree. You can do a boot camp. You can do, like, find some projects that even if you donate your time to just get the experience, you'll find yourself a lot further along than someone who's just, waiting for someone to drop from the sky and save them, because it doesn't work that way. So I think that it's really important to understand that, yes, AI is going to replace some jobs, but it's also going to create new ones. And that's the reality. And yes, someone who's using AI is going to replace you if you're not using AI. That's just a fact. And the sooner you get used to it and start to engage with it for productivity, I think that's great, right? And it can help you with, like, simple things. And that's where the creativity comes, because what you'll find is, I will outpace you because I'm more creative than you, but we are using the same tool. So that's going to be the competition of the future, is how creative are you?
Yeah.
Not how much can you remember because you're a lawyer.
No. I mean, looking at skills, I hear a lot of people talking about skills that you need, like a degree will be replaced with skills. I'm not sure if I agree with that entirely, because skills literally, like, the skill that you have today may not be applicable tomorrow, but that qualification you have is something that you've learned to apply yourself in a way. So we still need the degrees, but yet the skill, you must create that continuous growth in, like, reinventing yourself because of, like, the AI catching up. So always evaluate the prerequisites of the next level, like where you would like to be. And I see, like, a big gap with a lot of people that I work with. Like, I mean, I do career coaching, I support people with job hunting, CV review, and you find somebody with a degree, they've worked and they feel like my skills are not aligned with, or my experience is not aligned with my next job. And when you see, or rather their qualification, I sit them down, we evaluate everything. You're like, but you did this, you did that, you did that, and this is aligned with your qualification. So people don't also look at their qualification from a point of modules. They look at their qualification as, like, overall. Like
Mm-hmm.
I studied mechanical engineering, therefore I'm looking for mechanical engineering jobs. But we don't look at it from I did design, I did manufacturing, I did communication, and those are things that you can use your degree in. So, and I really like the boot camp as well, because I see a lot of people that they ask, oh, I've got this degree, but now I want to do this boot camp, uh, at the same time, I feel like people forget to really apply themselves, grow their skills, and just acquire a lot of
Yeah,
certificates.
don't do that.
Like,
Don't do
please,
that.
please, please talk about that.
Yeah, so I am a believer of degrees. And the only reason I say that is I think I would be doing a disservice to anybody saying, oh, don't care about degrees when I have a master's. Someone can literally be like, you're talking, it's like rich people going, oh, money doesn't matter. Yeah, because you got it. So I'm not going to tell you to not care about degrees. But what I will say is I stay away from people who have too many certificates and like zero experience, because I actually care about your experience. So for me, what a degree proves is that you can read and write, and hopefully if the degree is good, think critically. So I'm actually not fussed about what your degree is. I can have you studying communications, I can have you studying engineering, whatever the case may be, because really what is so hard to teach, I feel, is what we call soft skills. If you have a great attitude, positive, and you're willing to learn, you can learn AI.
Anything.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really fussed about the technical thing, because I'm not hiring a coder at this stage, right? So it's like that's fine. And I also think that it's really important when you look at certificates. So for example, I have a PMP, which means I'm a certified project manager. I've had it, I think next year is going to be my 10th year. And I only got that when I had done project management for a while. So then it was just something to validate my experience. I didn't do it before I was a project manager, if that makes sense. And that's just how I've done all my certificates, like any like continuous learning. It's just like, okay, I've done it. I've kind of seen it. What can I actually learn if I go and get the certificate? And it really helps, because it's like, oh, so that's a technical term to use. Or, oh, that's actually something I didn't consider because I was just learning on the job, right? So I feel like it just gives you more confidence now when you have it, because you actually have applied experience to actually really amplify that work. So I'm very against like just getting certificates for certificate's sake. I'm very big on getting the right experience, then looking at a certificate that's going to complement that experience. That's how I look at that, because I do know, I think it's a disease for the African continent, where it's just like, and I actually think that it's probably propagated by these institutions that are making you think that you need to have all these certificates. So when you hear me say, I don't care about degrees and certificates, it's not that I don't care about them. What I'm trying to explain is get the experience, be hungry for that experience, especially early on in your career. Follow the experience, follow the great boss reverently. The money will follow.
That's true. You talking about also that you studied in Japan. Did you study your primary high school in South Africa? Actually, I wanted to ask this.
Okay, yeah. So I did my primary in Botswana. I did my high school in the US, my undergrad in the US, my master's in the UK.
Wait, no. Are you from South Africa or Botswana?
Did you think I was South African?
Yes!
I'm so flattered. I get that a lot. Someone was like, I think you're a girl from Pretoria. I'm like, Pretoria!
Yes!
No, I'm not from Pretoria.
Ladies and gentlemen, Botswana is taking over slowly if you not very careful, because I've met a lot of people from Botswana here in China. I've met a lot of people from Botswana that are taking over spaces.
Oh, that's so nice. Because I don't, like, when I think of Botswana, I think of people who don't like to leave their country. So I find that amazing.
No, I've met quite a lot,
Oh,
actually.
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
oh, okay. And there's actually one guy who owns a business here in China from Botswana.
Oh, wow.
And it's really like a very amazing business, because you don't, I mean, when you come here, there's like Western restaurants, there's like Asian there's like you know, like different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and then African, you don't find anything. So when you see him, you're just like, oh, that's great, but he's from Botswana.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
so
So sorry, I
cool.
just had to
No,
like
it's
ask
okay.
this because
Yeah.
I think it's also relevant for our viewers as well. Yeah, but
I
now
don't know why I'm smiling. I feel so like,
yeah, I think now I would also like to talk about, you know, people that are applying for jobs. I mean, you do hire. I always advise that, you know, with CVs, you have to always reinvent it and look at what's currently trending, because now everything is about trends now. Like, your CV should be able to tell you that you are tech savvy, and we talk about, you know, digital transformation. Yet you still have people that are still using that old format of CV.
yeah.
What do you think, like, for somebody that does the hiring?
Uh, so I find it difficult to read CVs that don't start with like what I care about. So if I'm
Mm,
hiring you for, maybe digital marketing or
mm,
something, in the first three lines, if I'm not seeing the things that I'm thinking, I'm just, why are we here? But I want to be very clear that that's me, right?
mm-hmm.
So, like, you need to understand what industry you're going to be going into. So, we're in tech. So, obviously, I want the CVs that look like they've been touched by some sort of AI tool,
Yeah, yeah.
because that indicates to me that you
Mm,
know how to leverage technology. So,
mm,
if a traditional CV now comes across our table, we're not looking at a traditional CV because we're tech company. So like you don't even know that tech exists with this.
yeah.
Like it's a non-starter buy. So that's how I look at that. I also want to there's a difference between a resume and a CV. So depending
Mm,
on where you want, I think a lot of new African CEOs want something in the middle. So like instead of a one pager or a long CV that tells
mm-hmm,
like it's an academic history, maybe they
mm-hmm,
want 2 pages, something in the middle. But I think that active words are very important. What have you delivered? What value have you brought to the table? And
mm,
demonstrating what you can actually do. And the CV is, to me, it's just kind of like getting yourself through the door. That's how you should look at
mm,
the CV. So if someone's going to spend 3 seconds, and now what's worse is people using AI tools to review your CVs.
yeah.
So it's like if you don't have the certain words in there, your CV won't even be. Because back in the day, we would look at as like literally be like, reading a CV. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
God. Now it's like, I'm not even reading a CV. It's getting submitted into this tool, and this tool is going to be like, these 2 CVs are the best match for you. So you're not even looking at the other ones. You don't
No,
have time, right?
no,
That's what AI allows you to do, is to
yeah.
save time. So I would be really upset if it's like, well, you still looked at 100 CVs when we have a tool that can tell you that only 2 people really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only time the team goes through like a manual CV is if the 2 people they felt like aren't good enough, then they might do like, okay, open the parameters, but they're still using technology to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, so my advice is, if you are doing CVs, please modern,
Yeah.
please leverage some sort of AI tool out there,
Mm-hmm.
because they're there for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
LinkedIn is seeing, at least in the States, a lot of rejections on jobs. Like
Mm.
jobs, I think it's like increased to like 200% of people applying for certain jobs because of the introduction of AI. But then it also increases the rejection rate. So now competition is fierce.
It is, yeah. It is.
So
It is. I see that a lot in South Africa as well, or rather in the African continent,
mhm.
where now graduates are competing with qualified professionals,
Mm,
because then their job was replaced by AI, or it became
mm,
obsolete in the company. Then they find themselves not being hired, find themselves unemployed. And the next step that they do, then they fight for an entry level position, because then most companies hire graduates for success, you know, succession plan.
mhm,
And maybe there's somebody that's retiring, then
mm.
they know that if I start in an entry level position, then after a year or so, 6 months, I could get hired into a position. So now, like, the competition in the job market is very, very high. So that's why also, when you're in university, don't just study, you need to apply yourself as well. Look for, you know, vacation works, look for jobs during the weekend, so that when you talk about your experience as a
Mm,
freshly graduated you know, person, you talk about your experience, because now we want to know the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And with like being in a digital space, like how have you used the digital how have you demonstrated what digitalization is basically?
In the hiring
Yes,
process or just in
just
general?
in general.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like I just want to quickly touch on the comment you said
Mm-hmm.
students need to like get experience. I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with that. Data Sentinels does an internship program every year, and we actually hire directly from our interns. So one of the universities, I think it's the University of Mandela, which is in South Africa, that
Mm-hmm.
we get people from. Like, so we have people from across the continent, but for South Africa, that's one of the universities we pull from, and it's really important. And what I can say is, so we do, it's a paid internship role, but what I would actually advocate is don't get hung up on the money. Don't get, first of all, you don't even have money, so why are you hanging up on it? Get the experience, be hungry for the experience, even reach out to people and be like, I will work for free just to get the experience, because that experience can be the difference between, hey, let's give this person an opportunity because they're here already. Like, that's kind of how we look at the interns. It's like, okay, you go through this rigorous risk process, you then get in there, and if you do well, you get a job and you're stuck with us.
And it's for a good cause.
For a good cause, but that I think is, and I think it's really important, because I think a lot of companies, I have intentionally invested in an internship program for our organizations, because I think that a lot of younger people are kind of being displaced because of the job market. And I just feel like if we're going to be part of the solution, then we have to, if we have the power to, is to look at our own organizations and say, okay, well, how are we going to help? How are we going to improve that? And then to answer your second part of your questions, like, how do I use digital stuff in my life? Well, there's this course that I teach called AI Stacking for Productivity, where I basically show you how I use AI to be productive in everything, to like the meetings that I use. So for example, I have a Plod note taker, that if we were having this conversation and it wasn't like for this, I would probably have it around my neck and would have a conversation. And if there were any actions from that, I just upload that transcript. I can send you those actions out in 2 seconds. I don't have to write a stitch of anything, which I think is really great. There's also a tool that I love called Firefly AI. It's a meeting tool. So even if I'm unable to attend a meeting, because my team is not always co-located with me, so they'll have meetings in hours that, like, I'm not waking up at 2 a.m. for that meeting, but it's probably important for me to kind of get the gist of what's talked about. So I'll send my AI to be me in that meeting. It will record that, and at the end I can read, okay, what are the main points, what are the main tasks that I need to do, that will then get pushed to my project management tool like Asana. And then, so it's like, it's stacking, because it's not just like, and I think that's how you need to use AI, as there are tools that you can put in your toolbox to basically allow you to do like a lot of cool things. I think people, one thing that they don't do, so every month we have a free webinar session, and one of the sessions we had was like AI prompt engineering, because you're only as good as your prompt.
That's true. Actually, I attended a training for AI prompting, like, because I mean, we can prompt it, like, we're looking for the same thing and we prompt it differently. You may not get the answer. I get the answer.
Yeah.
So
It's really important. I think learn that, right? And you can find, I don't have any empathy for anyone who has a phone and access to internet.
Me too.
Zero. So if you come to me complaining, literally cry me a river, build that bridge. Like, I don't care, because there's a lot of, like, Microsoft has free courses, Google has free courses, there's YouTube, the cool people on YouTube teaching. If you go to Data Sentinels YouTube right now, I think every week there's a video about something around technology that is free that you can learn. So if you're really interested, you will actually apply the effort. But the problem is human beings are lazy. Let me tell you why we're lazy. Our brain is actually designed that way. So back in the day, we actually want to save calories, right? Because there wasn't enough food or whatever. So you don't want to do anything that's extra. It's either I'm getting food or I'm sleeping. So now
Mm.
when you have to do anything like exercising, that's extra calories for nothing. Thinking for something that's in the future, like why? Am I even going to be alive tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to survive today. So you
Mm.
have to actually train your mind to
Mhm.
overcome that like inherent laziness, because it's I actually don't think it's a bad thing. It's just being
Mhm.
human, and if
Mhm.
you can recognize that and then switch that part off and like work through that, you'll be okay. Like I look at your journey, you're like, I'm doing this every morning, I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna be in the gym every morning.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Having to
Exactly.
lose, 10 kgs.
You
It
look
was
great.
really.
You look great. It was
Thank
worth
you.
the
It
try. Like
was.
exactly,
It
right? But
was.
like it
Yeah.
wasn't fun. Like you had to
Mhm.
force yourself. Your body doesn't want to do that. Your body
Mhm.
just literally wants to sit around and be lazy. Your body doesn't want to study.
Mhm.
Your body doesn't want to do anything extra. So I think that you kind of have to trick it to find it fun. Like so, for example, I've published 5 books. I enjoy that. So for
Mm.
me, when I say, what do I do for fun? I write for fun, and I write to produce something that's going to be published. So it makes me also feel good because I'm like, oh, I'm doing something productive and I'm enjoying
You
it.
still worship us for my mentor?
But it's just like that's what it's
That's
like. You need
the
to trick your brain and be
reality.
like, how am
Yeah.
I going to actually
I
do
do
that?
agree with what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, but at the same time, the environment plays a huge role. And for you, I would also like to understand how you tap into the African market where the resources are less, not from having a phone access, but having a realization on how to use it. How do you tap into that?
Yeah. Hey,
I mean, we spoke
guys.
about prompts, that AI, you need to understand how to prompt it. I've been
Yeah.
using AI, but when they said, hey, we've got a training for prompting AI, I was like, I'm
Sign
there.
me up.
I need to understand
Yeah.
exactly the foundation. Like, how do I use it? Although I'm using it and it's working quite well for me.
Yeah, but how
Yeah.
can I be
How can I
better?
be better? Yes.
So I'm gonna say something that's so wild. As in, I hope I don't get fired after this. That's
No,
how wild
no.
it is. So I am a firm believer, like one of my, I think my big callings is to really, I want to empower people. Like
Mhm.
I genuinely do. And this is going to sound like, you can tell I'm African when I'm saying this. I literally felt like my ancestors were making me not lose, like I was losing sleep because I wasn't doing this. I was working in a very lucrative job doing super cool things. My ancestors were not having it. Like, in South Africa, you have sangomas, and then like sangomas, their feet swell, and then they have to now be it was like that for me. I was like, oh my God, I think it's true. Like, your ancestors will tell you we are not happy.
Wait. Were you getting
No, I didn't get policy.
Okay, not relative.
Don't take me literally now, gonna get people following me. No. But I just meant like I felt like in my body, I just felt like I couldn't do whatever I was doing before. I had to work to try and empower people. So how do I do that? And like, so Transformation Leader offers a lot of free things, right? A lot of access is free.
We'll put the links
Yes, well,
so
sure.
that you.
Yeah. So a lot of access is free. A lot of the webinars we do, like the AI prompting, was free, and it was taught by 2 people who are Forbes 30 under 30. So it's not even like smaller, like random. It's like people who are actually leading in the African industry, doing amazing, crazy stuff. They're creating like AI tools that you can learn from for free.
Yeah,
Just
but
access
the
it.
thing is,
Yeah.
how do I see that there is transformation for leaders? Where do I find it? Do you guys go to schools in Africa, to make an awareness?
So we specialize primarily with people in, in our university, in jobs. So like you're early entrant in a
Yes.
job, you're working, you're not in schools. We do have a product called Transformation Teens. So if you are a parent and you want your teens to like go through that, we do that. It's only located in a couple of schools because we're still piloting to see, does this work for younger people? Because it was designed for Gen X's and Gen Z's and millennials, and not really like the alpha, I think is what they're now called. So there's so many names. So that's how we do it. There's a lot of like advertisement. We have ambassadors all across the world. I think we currently have 12 countries where our ambassadors are from. So all the way from the US, Canada, Tunisia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana, all that. And the ambassadors are leaders in their space. So they don't work for, just like me, I'm just an ambassador, but I work for Data Sentinels and I'm ambassador for Transformation Leader. And I talk about Transformation Leader, and anyone who's in my space or in my ecosystem, I give them access to what I can give them access to.
But you are the founder.
Yes.
Of Dentist.
Yeah. So I give them access to all that. So that's the same thing that the other ambassadors do, because they all are impacting lives. Like, one of our goals is to impact 1 million lives by 2026. And it's the collective of us who are impacting the lives. It's not just one person who's impacting the life. And I think to your specific question is, how do we get the awareness out there? It's really word of mouth. It's advertising where we can. It's people referring, like, like this great platform you have of being like, hey, there's this tool that you guys can use, and then people go through and do that. The thing about it, though, and the comment that I said that's probably going to get me fired, is it's not for everybody. I want to be very clear that Transformation Leader is not for everybody. So please, well, I'm not interested in anyone who is not trying to better themselves. I'm not interested in anyone who doesn't have that hunger for something more. It's for a specific type of person, and it's probably 0.01% of the world population that are the type of people that I would go, you should go on Transformation Leader, if I'm being 1,000% honest. And I know that's a terrible thing to say if you're a business, but that's the truth.
And then I wanted to say, like, how do you then determine that this is the right person and this is not the right person?
They self kick themselves off. It's hard.
Okay, because I wanted to go back to you getting like Khodani, who does not believe in herself, but yet she's got a huge potential to go far. She just needs that kick. But then you see me in the beginning, you feel like, I don't think you're qualified to be.
Yeah, no one would say you aren't qualified. You will disqualify yourself.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, because basically the way the program is designed is that you will, in the program, be like, you'll just find yourself not there. Because if you have high potential, then you'll stay. Obviously,
I like that.
Like,
you know, I do courses as well, master classes, virtual, and you get like a high number of sign up, and then few show up. So that's basically like, you know, a determination, like where I determine that, oh, okay, well, this is not for you. And what is really nice about it, it's more of you know, like realizing the work that you do, not really for the crowd, but also just saying the impact in like the few people, but they spread to the masses. I like, at some point I was introducing myself as, hi, I'm Khodani Chachayo. I believe I can change the world. And as you say, it's not just about you, it's the ambassadors that, you know, they also spread like word of
and
mouth.
It's not only the ambassadors, it's the learners themselves.
Yeah.
Anyone who goes to the Transformation Leader program, guess what? You also need to be impacting lives. What do you? We're not building hussies here. We're building leaders.
And
right?
the nice thing, it's really saying that transformation, like when you see people transform from just a question of, oh, I see this, I want to be part of it, how do I start? And you direct them, then they become something big. So it's just like, whoa, this is really amazing. And I see that a lot on LinkedIn, where people would come, oh, you're so brave in posting this, you're so brave, where do I start? I want to do this. Oh, I want to go to school, so I want to go to out. And then you're like, no, this is how you can do it, just show up as you are. And then you see like people really transforming, and it's just like, this is really nice. And one thing that I really love is also the people that are, you know, starting these mentorship programs also. And they're like, you really inspired me to start a mentorship program. So when you see like these transformational platforms, don't be threatened to start them. We need more people, you know, that are going to transform you know, the nation, more especially Africa.
Yeah. So basically, I the whole concept around transformation leader is that everybody's a transformation leader. It doesn't matter about your title. So even like spotlighting people, we don't like spotlight people who are just CEOs. You can spotlight anyone, regardless. You could be starting just something that is impacting lives. At the end of the year, we have transformation leader projects, so people can showcase like, hey, I did this, I did that. They can win prize money for the cause that they do. And the whole premise is like, it's a community. Like we all are part of that community. So whether you are a learner, and when I say learner, I just mean you're starting the journey because as soon as you start, we call you a leader. So it doesn't actually matter. But it's like whether you're a learner in the program or a player, you are basically going to be in there impacting lives because you have an impact log. And the impact log will say, you know, maybe I took my friends and we decided to do a class at my local high school because I'm a university student and I wanted to teach them about what we learn at school. That's impact, and you can log that. Or we planted trees in our community, or we painted the local hospital in our community, because I think that's just so important. Like you need to be an active participant in your community to make it better. No one else can do that but you.
Yeah. I always say, what are you doing? What are you giving back to the community?
Yeah.
Because really, it's great to always give back to where we come from, because you know the community also built like had a huge contribution in who we are. And thank you for spotlighting me as well. So really, I was quite grateful that you see the potential, you see what I'm building, and yeah. So thank you so much,
girl. There's no thanks. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. I think it's really been inspiring just watching the impact that you're making. And when I see like really, I think one thing I love about digital also, the digital spaces, is you really get to see what other people are doing if they're like really putting themselves out there. And when you put yourself more to the masses, we get inspired and we just want to do more as well. And we also you know, like somehow believe that we can also do it, because you know, like somebody that looks like me is doing it, therefore I also have the capabilities. Yeah, so thank you.
So thank you for that. Like I find it like that's really nice to say, because it's very, I don't know what the right word is, because it's not lonely, is not the right word, because you're so engrossed in your daily problems, if that makes sense. Like you're running a business, you're trying to make sure that you can pay salaries at the end of every month and whatever all that like comes, and you're doing this because you think that, okay, this might help like two people. So when I hear that actually it is helping somebody, that is really great to hear, because it's like, okay, well, we are impacting lives. We're actually doing what we set our goal out to do, which is to basically impact lives in a positive manner and hopefully allow for those lives to impact more lives.
Yeah. I would also like to touch on Data
Sentinels.
Where did the name come from?
So I figured it was like in my mind when I first gonna laugh. When I first came up with Data Sentinels, I imagined like an army of females, like being like, we're gonna be your defenders and analyze us.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, not my brightest moments. So that was, you know, like protectors of your data, and we can do all this cool stuff. So that's really where the name came from. And I started it when I was in the UK, and it really was very basic stuff. Like my background is in data analysis, so I would analyze it. I find it fun because I'm not talking to people, so it's literally like the data, like, what does it need to tell you? It's not talking back, it doesn't have attitude, it doesn't have moods, you know. It just gives you information. So I'll do that for companies to basically analyze. So now we actually have tools out there that can help you. So our BI Tableau, but there are also tools where you can even throw in, you know, your Excel file, if you're using Excel, into chat or whatever, Claude, whatever you want to use, and it can do some analysis for you. So you don't have to study that anymore, in my opinion. However, I'm going to make a caveat that I do think that someone who has studied something and then uses AI will probably still outperform someone who's just using AI, because there's something about your brain being trained to think in a certain way for that subject, right? So a lot of people go, oh, AI does all the coding. You don't need to learn coding. Please learn coding.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I say it in my workplace. I literally am not so creative with presentations, but I'm creative with the wording, you know, the information that I need into the presentation. So I would prompt AI to give me like a structure for like a creative structure for my presentation. And then it give you something and you're just like, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
I don't want this.
I don't want this, you know?
Yeah.
Like really, you still need to use your brains, yeah. But don't you think that will before we conclude, I would also like to understand what Data Sentinels does. Like, where did the idea come from?
So I thought of the name Data Sentinels because in my mind I imagined a bunch of women warriors, you know, protecting and fighting around data. I know it's not the best idea out there, but I like everyone I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, I wish I was more creative.
I mean, that's creative, but I'm just like, why women?
Because I'm a woman. I really wanted, so when I started the organization, I actually wanted it to be a woman-only organization.
Okay.
And this is before like pro-woman thing, and my husband's like, now, darling. Let's be inclusive. So that idea died. And it's an inclusive organization. We have men and women, and we work in digital transformation. So a company will come to us and ask us to help them through their digital transformation strategy, implementation. Some will ask us to maybe create some automation tools within the organization. We have few requests now, but back in the day, we used to do a lot of like data analysis on that. And then yeah, so that's pretty much what we've been doing for a couple of years now. It's great. I think what I've learned a lot from my journey is perseverance, and also don't say yes and. And what I mean by yes and is a concept in improv where if we're doing an improv, I'll be making up stories like, oh, I'm blah, blah, blah. And then you have to go yes and continue the story. And then I'll come back and I have to say yes to whatever you say and continue. And what I like about that is the concept of listening and adding to what is being offered to you. So it allows you to find more opportunities that you might not be able to see because you're saying yes, right? Instead of saying, no, I don't think I'm good for that, or no, whatever excuses you have in your head, you're going yes and we'll figure it out when we get there. But yes and.
That's a good concept because I look at China now. Like back in the days, it was looked at as a copy and paste, but now it's like copy, improve, and you know, like very transformative. So that's profound. That's profound. Yeah.
So
and how many people do you have?
We have 12 people.
Okay.
Yes.
That's big.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is me practicing gratitude.
No, that's really big. I mean, I look at a lot of people that are starting up, you know, companies. We all call ourselves we, but it's just one person.
The royal we.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you.
Yes,
Email is right to me.
Oh my gosh, it's so cringy for me. Like it's very cringing. When I do it, I'm just like, no, you only have for us it's just the two of us. So
that's we.
So we.
It's we.
Yeah.
It is, and you know what? And for people who are solo entrepreneurs, it is we because it's the you who's the marketing, and the you who's the sales, and the you. So that's we.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
So thank you for continuing to inspire us. I mean, when you refresh the page on LinkedIn, you really see like something very transformative, something inspiring, either from transformation for leaders and also from your page as well. So thank you for continuing to do the work because I know it's a lot of work, but yet you are still giving in. So we are going to put all the links to, you know, the transformation leaders, the website, and also the LinkedIn platform. Or rather, let me just ask you, where can people find you before I like butcher everything?
So if you want to be part of Transformation Leaders, go to www.t4leader.com. And if you're interested in getting an internship with Data Sentinels, go to www.datasentinels.com. and I'll share those links. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Nono Buketi, and that is the name across all my socials.
Oh, nice and easy, hey? So I will put in the all the links into the description box. So thank you so much for joining in. So Nono, we're coming to the end of the episode, and I would like you to say a few words to my audience and also your audience because they're here. So yeah.
I think what I want to say is nobody's watching and nobody cares. And the reason I'm saying this is not to be an a-hole, but really the fact of the matter is you need to count on you. You need to put in the work. You need to want to develop yourself. You need to be brave. You need to say yes and. You need to make sure that you're taking those risks. You need to make sure you're failing, and you're failing quickly and you're failing often, so you're learning quickly, so you're growing quickly. Because the quicker you grow, the quicker you learn, the more opportunities are going to come for you. The more you'll be able to be more confident to talk to people and different people because you tried it once. And get used to the word yet. You might not be good at something, but you will be. So I'm not good at speaking yet. I'm not a great salesperson yet. I'm not whatever yet. So you need to believe in yourselves. Please do so. And go to www.tforleader.com. Put in that impact so we can impact 1 million lives by 2026.
Oh, yes, please be part of that growth. So for me, thank you so much for honoring the invite to be part of my growth. I mean, having, a conversation with you is really something big. I think the wisdom that you share is something that I will forever hold in my heart because I know it's going to take me places. So thank you so much for coming. And to you, my colleagues, thank you so much for joining in. If you are new here, please do make sure that you subscribe. To my returning colleagues, please engage on YouTube. And I'm saying this because we engage a lot on WhatsApp and also on LinkedIn about this content and the guests that you like. So you engaging boosts the algorithm. It also attracts the audience that you want, the guests that you want. So please do support and be kind and gentle. Bye bye.